Good day, everybody. This is Emar Sopertooth of Sports Inquirer, and we're here with Beth Van Fleet, the head coach of Georgia State Beach Volleyball. The team is coming off of a very successful previous weekend at the NOLA Classic, winning all five of their team matches. Beth, overall impressions of how the team performed and what led to those victories?
We played really well. We entered the weekend knowing it was going to be a little different than the other tournaments we played in the sense that the target was on our back this weekend. We went in as one of the more highly ranked teams. Tulane is also in the top 20. But the other schools that were there, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Central Arkansas, HBU, and Spring Hill are all extremely scrappy, hardworking, well-trained programs. And so we knew it was going to be a bit of a battle for us this weekend. And it was really wonderful to see each of our pairs respond to that pressure and that target and really play hard and play for each other in some critical moments.
Yeah, including that win over nationally ranked Tulane. I think that may have been the only point that you dropped in the weekend, one of the few ones. Now's the last matchup of the weekend. What about that contest and what the team did to earn the victory?
Yeah, so Tulane, that was the second time we played them. So we played them at Gulf Shores a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And, it was a week ago. And we just know they are very hardworking. They're very well trained. And it was great because we were able to reflect on our past games and learn a little bit, kind of tweak some of our systems and be a little bit more prepared going in to play them this weekend. And it's always hard because it was their senior day and it's their home sand. And so going into those moments, how meaningful those matches are for teams. And we knew that it was going to be an opportunity for us to just allow ourselves to play hard, play to our, a little bit above our average and see how we were going to compete with them. But that by no means were any of these games over the weekend games where we walked in saying, oh, we're definitely winning this. We were tested on every flight, 1 through 6 in every duel that we played. And we won the dual scores, but if you look at the individual scores, a lot of those games, they were really, really close. And we just ended up 2 points ahead in some situations.
Looking at the recap, you dealt with windy conditions, at least on the first day. How do you prepare for that as a team? Do you just deal with the elements? And because you're based in Atlanta, Georgia, we get different types of weather, but wind is kind of anywhere. But with heat or wind or even a wet ball or wet sand, do you prepare for those conditions? And if you do, how?
Sure. So that's one of the great advantages of practicing here in Atlanta every day is that we get all of the weather. So we get some incredible wind at our facility. It will get very swirly because we're a little bit in a wind tunnel sometimes. We practice in the rain, we practice when it's cold, we practice when it's hot. And so much of it for beach volleyball athletes is practicing in those elements allows you to have an expectation going into a game when you're having to compete in those elements. And so anybody who's playing college beach volleyball right now has definitely had their fair share of windy days, deep sand, cold weather, frozen toes, blisters on their feet. These athletes are across the board. They've been through it all. And we just know that we have to adjust our strategy and our game. So for example, when it's really windy, you don't pass and set as high. You play a little bit of a lower game so the ball's not blowing around so much in the wind. It also affects your strategy with regard to defense. If you're pulling more or blocking more on serve receive, if you're trying to push the ball up to the net or kind of keep it off the net. So we just learn how to play with the wind. We say the wind is our friend. And because if it's not, it can wreck you. You don't even need another team on the other side of the court. But the wind is definitely an element that each beach volleyball player has had to face with, has worked with, and oftentimes dealt with frustration and hopefully overcome it.
On a selfish or personal note for you, it was your 150th career win with Georgia State or in volleyball. Did you realize you're reaching that mark, and what are your reflections on it now that you have reached a career milestone?
Sure. I didn't know that I was coming up on it. Natalie, our sports information director, mentioned something the week before, and I kind of forgot about it until we were doing that post-game interview. And I keep getting the biggest, chuckle out of it because I've actually never played in a college duel. And so I love that I'm getting credit for 150 wins in which I didn't play. And these athletes are doing all of the work. And so it's been really fun getting to guide this program. And I think it's more of a comment for our entire team. and that we now have, as a team, I think we've got over 162 wins, or I think it's 162 wins. And I think that's a really cool mark for the entire program, for everybody who's ever played here, who's contributed to our success. That's a big number.
But what about you came into the program and helped develop it? Did you see you reaching this? Obviously, you saw yourself doing well, but what does this means for the program just to reach this mark and emerge in this sport, which is, as you've mentioned in the past, or has been West Coast dominated, and you're in the Southeast, trying to make your mark in it?
Yeah, and I think it's really fun at Georgia State. We get to play with a chip on our shoulder all the time, because people don't expect us to really show up or make that much of an impact. And we are just like the little engine that could, and we just keep working hard, and we keep believing in who we are and how we're training and trusting the process and pursuing our goals, and weathering the hard times and celebrating in the good times. And I think that, we're going to see more and more teams hitting these 150 win markers. There's some super successful teams, especially on the East Coast these days. And so I just think it's great for the growth of the entire sport that we now have 10 seasons under our belts. For some of the other schools that started the first year, for us, this is our 9th season. And it's just neat to see this sport continue to grow and these athletes continue to elevate their level of play.
And two athletes that have been big contributors so far this year are the Ferary sisters, the freshman Angel and Bella. They had a perfect weekend, and they were recognized by the school for their performance this past weekend. But what about the recruitment process for them? They're twins. They're from the Metro Atlanta area. Mm-hmm. What was that process like bringing them into the program, and how have they performed so well for you as freshmen?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's very similar to any recruiting process. I mean, everybody's recruiting process is slightly different based on their needs and their timeline. But having Angel and Bella living in Atlanta or nearby Atlanta is definitely an advantage, because they had seen our program. They're familiar with our program. They know and have worked with a bunch of the athletes who are currently in our program or who have graduated. And so I think there was a nice connection there for them. And coming in as freshmen, this is something that across the board, we've always had freshmen show up and play hard. And I think it's just so neat that Sue Inquist used to say this all the time, that, the game doesn't know your age, and it really doesn't. And the game only is going to know your heart and your passion and how hard you're working. And I think it's so great that you'll see across the board right now, schools that have 5th, 6th, and 7th year players. And then you see some first year players, and everybody's making an impact and making their mark.
Yeah. And was that the easiest pairing that you have as far as your lineup? Just put the twins together, or I asked that because we've talked about in the past, how your selection process of putting your flights together and your groupings. Was it just natural to put them together, or was that consideration maybe putting some other people, because they are obviously working well together now?
Sure. They've wanted to play together, like throughout the recruiting process. That was something they asked. And I told them, like, at some point you might play together. I absolutely did not think we would have them together their freshman year. They're both also phenomenal players behind any blocker on our team. And so trying to look at what was going to make our lineup the strongest, we started off with them separated and playing pretty well, but just got to a point I think we first put them together at our day of duels. And kind of got to a point where, like, let's see what this looks like and see kind of how it affects the rest of our pairings. And so far it's been working great, and they're certainly working super hard, and they're excited to be playing together. I know they're also excited to play, they're excited to play volleyball. They love playing volleyball. So I think it's neat for them that they get to play together. But I know too, they love playing behind a blocker as well.
Sure. And now you prepare for Gamecock Grand Slam this weekend in Columbia, South Carolina. You get rematches against Florida State and TCU. They beat you earlier in the year. You also get to face new opponents in Stetson and the host, South Carolina. So how have preparations been going for the weekend, and what do you anticipate for these matchups?
Yeah, this weekend is going to be a really fun opportunity for us to go compete. So going up against Florida State right now, they're number 2. They're ranked number 2 in the country. And that's just a game where you play free, you play hard, and like see where we can steal points right and left for them. We know that we generally match up with them pretty well. And so that's a game that everybody gets really excited to get in and compete. playing against TCU will be a lot of fun. I don't know what our overall record with them is, but I feel like we normally split. And so this is going to be an opportunity for us to go back and play super hard. They have a very deep roster. They're a very talented team. And we'll have to dig pretty deep, but it's something I'm confident in our ability to go compete with them this weekend. And then going in to Sunday against Stetson and South Carolina, like those are some of our favorite rivals. And it's just always fun to see the fireworks that happen when we compete against those schools. And I think right now we're ranked 15, 16, and 17. So there's really, there's going to be a lot on the line for us, for everybody this weekend. And it will be, I think we can expect to see some really great volleyball this weekend throughout the entire Gamecock Grand Slam Classic, or whatever the name of the tournament is. But yeah, it's going to be a great tournament across the board.
All right, well, Beth, thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much, Marcel. Great to speak with you.